So then, okay, we'll just continue with this topic. And are you practicing? Are you able to follow along with what we've been seeing in class?
Yeah, yeah.
Excuse me. Okay. Now let's first start up our DVWA. For that, oh, my bad. So cross-site scripting stored is what we were discussing. Okay, how many levels had we done? Like low, medium, what had we covered?
मीडियम कवर हो गया था.
मीडियम हो गया था? चलो ठीक है. So let's go to this DBWS security and let's change it to high. Submit. Go back. Now in the medium part we can see that if we try to perform any kind of stored cross-site scripting here, we'll not be able to do that. So we need to resort to running our script in this field, in this input field. So now if I try entering anything here, of course it's not going to let me enter because we saw the other day that for this input field, the max length is set to 10. So if I just remove this, excuse me, if I just remove this and now if I try entering something, message, let's try signing it now. Okay, so our payload that we entered for the cross-site scripting, that is working and we are getting the output for that here. We're getting an alert which says X simply because that is the payload that we used. And now whoever visits this page, even however many times you visit this page, this is always going to run because it has been stored in the database. And I don't have to write it more than once. Once it's stored, then anyone who accesses this web page, this code, the payload that we inserted, that will run in the browser of whoever visits it. So it is stored in the database and it is going to be persistent. It's going to be running on the browsers of everyone who visits this page. Now, stored cross-site scripting is also known as persistent cross-site scripting because once you enter it, it persists. Okay, for as long as it's present in the database, it is going to persist. Unless, of course, the person responsible for managing the site, unless they remove it from the database, it's going to be there. And it has been used in such a way that the content is being displayed on the page. So that is our script will run every time this page is opened. So in the high security level, what they've done is the message input is being sanitized. They're removing a lot of characters from it. But for the name, they're just removing the script tags. So we are still able to perform cross-site scripting. If you just remove the script tags, you still aren't secure against the other kinds of payloads, just like the one that we use right now. So a simple filter for the script is not going to help. So we've seen two kinds of cross-site scripting, reflected and stored. Reflected is also known as non-persistent cross-site scripting and stored is known as persistent cross-site scripting. So is it clear why that is? Are you understanding why it's called persistent, why stored is called persistent and why reflected is called non-persistent?
Got it, sir.
response.
Hello, got it, sir.
Got it? Okay. Now keep in mind that you also, practice this stuff. Otherwise, you know, the concept will not be completely clear. So keep practicing as well. And for any issues, yes, tell me about whatever issues you might be having. Okay. So the next vulnerability that I'm going to talk about is this. How do you call it? Cross-site scripting, but DOM based. Now, of course, let's change the security level here. Okay, before I talk about DOM based cross-site scripting, are you familiar with what DOM is?
No, sir.
No.
See, DOM stands for Document Object Model, and basically what it is sort of a hierarchical structure for your web page. Let me look for a diagram that I saw the other day. I think that would help you understand this a little bit better. So I'm posting a link in the chat, and this is a link for an image that you can use as a reference to sort of get a better understanding about what DOM is. Now, when you load an HTML document, basically your web page, when it's loaded into a web browser, it becomes a document object. And this is basically the base or the root of all the HTML documents present on a web page. So the document is known as the root of all HTML elements present on the page. And you could say that it's the owner of all those other elements. So it's a hierarchical structure. So the document is at the top. Then you have your root element, which is the HTML. Now HTML is divided into a head and a body. So head contains information like the title of the web page or some other metadata about the web page, while the body contains the actual content of the web page, whatever text, whatever images, whatever links are contained in the page, those will all be a part of the body of the page. So now both of these things come under the root element, which is simply the HTML. And under your head, you have your title. Under the title, you have the text, which is a part of the title. And under body, you have different elements like href is equal to, that's shown, that's basically a hyperlink, link to some other website or some other resource that you might be loading. A is the anchor tag, which is used with href. Element h1 is basically your heading, then the different text that you might be using in those headings. So it's basically a hierarchy. Excuse me. Basically a hierarchy with all of these different elements. Okay, excuse me. So with the object model, basically JavaScript, it has the power to do whatever it wants. It can change all the HTML elements in the page. It can change the values of all the elements, all the attributes for those HTML elements. It can remove existing HTML elements, or it can add new ones. It can react to whatever events happen on the page. Now event would be like when you when you click a button on a page, or when you hover over a link. So those are different events, and JavaScript is used to define the behavior of the website. So basically, not the website, the web page, basically how the page reacts when you interact with it. So now JavaScript can manipulate this entire DOM, this entire document object. Now this is the intended functionality of JavaScript, that it can make changes to the document object model. But if JavaScript is taking input from a field which an attacker can give input into, and it passes it to another JavaScript function which supports dynamic code execution, then this kind of vulnerability arises. So that's why it's very important to ensure that if you're taking any kind of data from any input field that can be modified, or any input field which the attacker can interact with, then you need to make sure that your data is sanitized before you let JavaScript handle it. So you need to keep that in mind when you're designing an application, a web application basically. Okay, so now let's see that in action here. So coming back to our DVWA. Now this page says that you need to choose a language. So English, French, Spanish, German, let's just keep it at English. If I click on select, okay, see in the URL, there is now a parameter that has been added. It is called default, and the value is set to English. Now, of course, in this field, I cannot make any changes. There is nothing for me to insert an input here. This is not an input field. But let's try to make changes to this parameter. Maybe it'll change something. Let's see. So let's just test here, see what happens. So when we are changing this value, you can see that the value that's showing up here is simply test. Now what's happening here is that when we are providing an input here, that is able to change the value defined here. So maybe we can insert a script, and that is going to interact with the document object model, or the DOM, and change the value here. Let's try that. And okay, I'll just press enter. So we are able to run our script, and of course it won't show up here because it's a script, so it doesn't really show up. But we've seen that when we interacted with the default parameter and we specified a custom value for it, we were able to perform DOM based cross-site scripting. So we were able to use JavaScript to manipulate the content of the page. Now you are seeing this alert not because it's in the URL, but because it's being changed here. It's changing the content of this basically selection box. So that is how we are able to do this. If you try any other payload, that should work as well. Okay, this one is not working for some reason. Okay, maybe. This isn't working either. Okay, no worries. Let's try something else. And our script is working basically. Okay, image source would not be possible to insert here. That's why it's not saving. Okay, no worries. So we are able to insert our scripts and use that to manipulate the document object model, which changes what is present here. Now let's try changing the TWS security level, and let's see what happens in this case. Yep. So select a language, English. If I try using script here, will this work? No, it's not going to work. So our earlier method of just replacing the English with script, that's not going to work now. And why is that not going to work? Because if I come and take a look here at this source code, then they've specifically removed script tags, and if they do see any script tags, what they are going to do is simply set the location to English, the default parameter, sorry, not location, language to English, the default parameter to English. So let's try this. This does not work either. Okay, but there is something else that we could try. What if I were to use an octathorpe here, and after that I inserted my script? Okay, so our payload is working, and we are getting the cookie which is basically what we are telling our payload to do. Now the thing is, in this case, what we have done, we have used this octathorpe, and after that we've specified our payload here. So in this case, what happens is, anything that comes after this, whenever you use anything in the URL which comes after this octathorpe, that is not processed by the server. It is not sent to the server. The server is not going to see this. It's not going to do anything with this. Anything that comes after the octathorpe, it's going to ignore that. So that's why our script tag was not removed by the server, but it was processed by the browser. It was processed by the DOM. That's why we were able to execute our script. So if there's any server side filtering, we were able to bypass that due to using this. So the server does not process this. It does not remove the script. It does not remove the script, but of course the browser is not going to, browser is not going to work the same way. It sees this as part of the URL and it changes the DOM based on that. Now we need to see this on the high level. Just a moment. So we have changed it to high, and let's go back. Please choose a language, English, click on select. Try this again. So even in this case, we are able to run the script, and our cross-site scripting attack is working. In most cases, DOM-based cross-site scripting like this would be done in the browser itself. In the URL itself. Your attack would be done via the URL. In most DOM-based attacks that you see. So that concludes our cross-site scripting part, our XSS part. Do you have any questions regarding this?
हेलो
Yes.
हाई लेवल में कैसे किया सर हमने, मतलब हैश डाला उसके बाद ये सोर्स कोड लिखा क्या?
Same चीज की हमने हाई लेवल में भी,
ओके
और काम कर रहा है वो, क्योंकि
सर,
जो
हम
हम्म
आपने बोला था कि हम स्क्रिप्ट की लिस्ट बना के ट्राई कर सकते हैं क्या यूआरएल पे बर्प सूट से?
वर्ब सूट से
हाँ।
कर तो सकते हो, बट नहीं वर्ब सूट में, लेकिन आपको रिस्पॉन्स कैसे दिखेगा उस चीज़ का? क्रॉस साइट स्क्रिप्टिंग वर्ब सूट से नहीं कर सकते आप। देखो, क्रॉस साइट स्क्रिप्टिंग में हम क्या करते हैं, हमने पेलोड रखा, पेज रिफ्रेश किया, एक पॉपअप आएगा और बंद। लेकिन वर्ब सूट में आप ये चीज़ कैसे देखोगे? जैसे आप उसकी बात कर रहे हो ना, जैसे कि या तो हमने इंट्रूडर यूज़ किया था, उसमें देखो
हाँ
एक
हाँ
दूसरा टूल है रिपीटर, लेकिन रिपीटर में तो फिर आपको मैन्युअली चेंज करनी पड़ेंगी चीज़ें,
हाँ
और
हाँ।
उसमें क्या है, आपको ब्राउजर के अंदर रिस्पॉन्स नहीं दिखता ना उसका,
गॉट इट सर।
है ना?
मुझे क्या लगा कि हम पेलोड बनाएंगे और ट्राई कर सकते हैं ना इस उसमें, मतलब 10-15 पेलोड लिखे, एक के बाद एक ट्राई होगा, इसीलिए पूछा था,
हाँ,
लेकिन
नहीं
आगे।
मैं समझ रहा हूँ आप क्यों पूछ रहे थे कि वो मतलब ऑटोमेट हो जाएगी चीज़ें,
हाँ।
लेकिन उसमें ये है ना कि यार वर्ब सूट में आप ब्राउजर का रिस्पॉन्स इस केस में नहीं देख सकते,
गॉट इट सर, आ
है
गया
ना?
समझ।
बाकी ब्रूट फोर्सिंग तो अलग चीज़ है, उसमें तो आपको सिर्फ ये देखना है कि पेज क्या रिस्पॉन्स दे रहा है, इस केस में थोड़ा डिफरेंट हो जाता है। एनीथिंग एल्स?
नो सर,
नो?
नथिंग फ्रॉम माय साइड।
ओके।
हाँ
Did we discuss this week session IDs previously?
नो।
No? Okay, so let's come to that. Again, DVW security low. So we are going to take a look at weak session IDs, and yeah, in this case, we are going to need burp suit. Okay, just excuse me for a couple of minutes. I just have to do something and get back. Till then, let this open. Okay, so let's continue. Start burp. Now this is the vulnerability is weak session IDs. Now session IDs are used by web servers to keep track of the user that is logged in. So when you access a website, you create a session. The web server sends you a session ID, and basically that is stored in the form of a cookie. So whenever you make any subsequent requests to that website, your browser will include that cookie in all those requests, so that the server knows that okay, this is the session corresponding to which I need to reply. So if you are logged in as a user, then your cookie will contain all your session details, and that will be sent, your cookie will be sent in every request that is made to the web server. But these session IDs that I mentioned, if they are weak, or if the algorithm generating session IDs is not proper, then they could be predictable. And if someone were to figure out, you know, that this is the kind of thing that's going on, if someone is, let's say if someone sniffs your data that you're sending to a website that you're communicating with, and they see that okay, this is the kind of session ID being made. One thing is, of course, they could steal your session ID if they are sniffing. That is definitely a possibility. Or they could also steal other users' session IDs, other users' sessions basically, by predicting the session IDs based on, if they see, let's say, you and there's one more person logging on, and if they see the relation between the two session IDs, so they could predict someone else's session ID and take over their session by inserting that cookie into the browser. So this kind of thing is known as session hijacking. This is a session hijacking attack. So with weak session IDs, let's see how these weak session IDs are being generated. We go to proxy first, intercept. No, let's intercept, keep it off, and tell the browser to use burp. Now I am going to click on this generate button a few times, and then I'm going to go over to burp. So we clicked on generate quite a few times. Let's go to burp now. So these are all the requests and responses. And it's starting from 20. Let me see what the issue is here. Let's try again. So generate. Okay, this session is not resetting. Okay, let's just see it like this. Now, in the response that we're getting, in this case, the server is sending a HTTP header which says set cookie, and the cookie contains the value dvwa session is equal to, now this is the value 20,026. In the next one, it's 27, and you can also see the values here, 26, 27, 28. So this is just incrementing the values by one. So if one person logs in, they get this session ID, the next person gets this one, and so on. So now what we do is, let's click on this request and send it to uh, Sequencer. Okay, Sequencer is another tool in Burp Suite, and it is going to analyze these different values. And the value we want to use is the cookie value. Okay, so that's it. Click on, not configure, start live capture. So now it's going to send a lot of requests. And we are going to click on analyze now. So it's going to do some kind of analysis on these values. And it says here that the overall quality of randomness within the sample is estimated to be extremely poor. Now, session IDs should always be created so that there is a lot of randomness between one value and another, so that you cannot predict what the next one would be. If you take a look at two session IDs, two consecutive session IDs, you should not be able to predict the third one. But that is not the case here. This is just very poor randomness. I'm going to close it now. Let's try changing the security level. Okay, no, let's first come back. Yeah. Use source. So what they're doing is they're simply taking the last session ID, they're incrementing it by one and keeping it as the session ID. So this is incrementing by one every time. Let's again come to Burp once. Proxy history, clear history. Yes. Back here. Now again, let's generate a few. Okay, I think that should be fine. So we've generated a few more cookies. Now we are in the medium security level. And take a look at the cookies now. So now these are the values for the cookies. So the first one is this 1602481769. The and The other one is in 71, 73, 76, 77, 79, 82. Now this might look like it's, good enough, but it's not actually. You can see, wait, let me click a couple more. Okay, in these last few, the last three, you can see these all have the same session ID. This is the exact same for all of these. So 853, 853, and 853. And if you notice something else, the time at which these were clicked is the same. So in the same second, we had three different requests and they all had the same cookies. Also, you can see a correlation between the time and the cookie itself. So for 52, we have 852. For 53, we have 853. Similarly, for 36, we had 76, 37, 77. Basically, what this is it's simply giving the current time in seconds. So even this is not a very, what do you call it? Not a very good or a robust algorithm for generating cookies. Let's start live capture again. Again, it's telling us that the overall quality of randomness within the sample is estimated to be extremely poor. And we've seen why that is. We come back to this. It's simply converting the time to the cookie value and setting that as the cookie. Submit. And we'll generate few more cookies. Go back to work. Okay, in this case, if you take a look at these cookies, okay, so this is the actually no, the session IDs, I mean. So this looks like, okay, it's random enough. Same here. These are the different values for the cookies now. Let's analyze them this time, see what happens. In this case, it's telling us that the overall quality of randomness within the sample is estimated to be excellent. So burp suit seems to think that okay, this is good enough, but let's do a little checking of us myself. Now this looks like it might be a hash because all of these are the same length. If you compare them carefully. So this is a tool known as hash identifier. If I input something, it's going to tell me what kind of hash it is. So possible hash is saying that it's possibly an MD5 hash. Okay. And if I try to decrypt it using a site which uses rainbow tables for this kind of thing, let's see whether I find something or not. So it's saying that it has found the value to which this hash corresponds, and that is 2020. That's the value to which this hash is corresponding. Let's take another one here. See this. And for the previous one, it says that the value is 20,019. So 20,020 and 20,019. Was this 19 one was before this? So what we can find out here is that in this case, all they're doing is instead of incrementing the values by one and just keeping that as the session ID, they're incrementing the value by one, incrementing the number by one, and creating an MD5 hash for it, calculating the MD5 hash of that value, and simply keeping that as the session ID. So even this is not something that I would say is the best way to create session IDs, because all you are doing is incrementing your values and keeping that as the ID. Incrementing the value, taking the hash and keeping that as the ID. So if this we can figure it out, anyone else can do that as well. So this is showing you that's when you implement an algorithm for session ID generation, you should make sure that it is strong enough. So this was weak session IDs, and also simply if you are able to intercept a request, see the cookie, and like this is for someone else. If you're performing a sniffing attack or man in the middle, if you're able to see someone else's cookie, and you can use burp suite to insert that cookie into your request, and you will be able to get that other person's session, which is known as session hijacking. So you'll be able to log in, use the website as the person whose cookie you have used. So that is session hijacking. Any questions here?
No, sir.
No.
So let's move on to the next thing. Security level low.
हेलो
Yes.
सर हमने अभी सेशन हाईजैक किया किसी का, तो हमें तो एक ही कुकी मिलेगी इतने, मतलब आपने जनरेट किया वैसे तो नहीं होगा?
नहीं वैसा नहीं होगा, वो तो देखो अलग सिचुएशन है। लाइक
हाँ
एक तो तुमने अगर स्निफिंग करके किसी की कुकी स्टील कर ली,
हाँ
ठीक है, मतलब तुम्हें सेशन आईडी मिल गया, वो तुमने कुकी सिंपली अपनी रिक्वेस्ट में सेंड कर दी सर्वर को,
हाँ हाँ
तो वो तो ठीक है कि तुमने सेशन हाईजैक कर लिया उस बंदे का, मतलब जिसका भी किया। अब तुम्हें वहां पे अलग से सेशन आईडी प्रिडिक्ट करने की जरूरत तो है नहीं। वीक सेशन आईडीज से एक दूसरे सिनेरियो आ जाता है कि मान लो आपने कई सारे सेशन आईडीज स्निफ कर ली, कई सारे सेशन आईडीज एज एन अटैकर आपने देख ली नेटवर्क पे, तो अगर आपका जो सेशन आईडी जनरेशन है वो वीक है उसका एल्गोरिथम, तो वहाँ पे क्या होगा कि आप उनको देख के प्रिडिक्ट कर सकते हो कि अगली वैल्यू क्या होगी। अब यहाँ हमने जो सेशन आईडी देखे, ये सब क्या थी, ये इंक्रीमेंट हो रही है वैल्यूज बाय 1 और उनका हैश निकाला जा रहा है सेशन आईडी के लिए। तो अगर मैं ये देख लेता हूँ, अगर मैंने ये कई सारी रिक्वेस्ट कैप्चर की, स्निफ की और देख लिया कि क्या सेशन आईडी है, तो मैं आगे के सेशन आईडी प्रेडिक्ट कर सकता हूँ कि अगला यूजर अगर कोई होगा उसको क्या सेशन आईडी मिलेगा। तो मैं वो वैल्यूज भी ट्राई कर सकता हूँ अपने इसमें कुकी में डाल के, तो किसी और का सेशन मिल जाएगा उस केस में। वीक सेशन आईडी से क्या होता है कि आपका सेशन आईडीज जो है प्रिडिक्टेबल हो जाते हैं। अगर प्रिडिक्टेबल हैं तो गेस कर करके आप लोगों के सेशंस हाईजैक कर सकते हो। और आप ओके, जो दूसरी सिचुएशन है वो तो डिफरेंट है कि आपने किसी का वो स्निफ करके सिंपली उसमें अपनी रिक्वेस्ट में भेज दिया, तो वो तो डिफरेंट सिचुएशन है, उसमें तो आपको ये देखने की ज़रूरत ही नहीं है। तो आप किसी एक पर्सन को टारगेट कर रहे हो, उसको स्निफ करके आपने कर ली वो चीज़। वीक सेशन आईडी से आपकी प्रिडिक्टेबल हो जाती है कि नेक्स्ट सेशन आईडी क्या होगा, मैं बता सकता हूँ अगर मैंने पिछले कुछ देखे तो।
आ गया सर समझ में। मैं भी कर सकता हूँ कि 2-3 बार लॉग इन करूंगा लॉग आउट करके
अच्छा।
एज ए इथिकल हैकर। उस वेबसाइट में अकाउंट क्रिएट करके 3-4 बार से समझ सकता हूँ।
हाँ, फिर आप अगर
हाँ
वीक आपका होगा सेशन आईडी,
हाँ, तो,
मतलब एल्गोरिदम जो है, तो फिर आप प्रिडिक्ट कर सकते हो।
तो
और आप जो दूसरी सिचुएशन है उसमें तो आप ये देखने की ज़रूरत ही नहीं है, तो आप किसी एक पर्सन को टारगेट कर रहे हो, उसको स्निफ करके आपने कर ली वो चीज़। वीक सेशन आईडी से आपकी प्रिडिक्टेबल हो जाती है कि नेक्स्ट सेशन आईडी क्या होगा, मैं बता सकता हूँ अगर मैंने पिछले कुछ देखे तो।
हाँ
तो
तो
वो तो आप अलग अलग ब्राउजर से ट्राई करो, अलग अलग आईपी एड्रेसेस से ट्राई करो, तो है ना, तो आप अलग अलग सेशंस देख सकते हो।
Got it, sir.
Now we have what is known as CSP bypass or content security policy bypass. Now, content security policy is it's actually in the form of an HTTP header, which is a part of the response that you get from the web server. So when you request a web page and there is CSP applied in the website, then in the request there in the response there will be an HTTP header for content security policy, and it basically defines what kind of domains or what sources this web page can use to load content from. Now, by content, I mean things like images or scripts. You know, in any web page, there are different kinds of images that are being loaded onto the page. There are different scripts that are running. Content security policy defines the sources from which the web page can load those scripts or those images, so that no one can trick the application into loading something from a malicious source. So it's saying you can include scripts from external sources, examine the content security policy, and enter a URL to include here. Now, how do you view the content security policy? Either you use Burp Suite to view your responses. In this response, okay, they haven't included it here. Content security policy. No. But in this case, if I take a look at the browser, okay, the other way to do that is go to the browser network. Okay, just not home, sorry. Refresh this page and look for the entry corresponding to the page itself. So this is not security. I need to go to CSP bypass. So this is the request for the page itself, and these other requests are for sources like the fav icon or the small this icon that you see, dvw page.js, and another JavaScript file. So these are the different sources. Now, if I take a look at this and I come to the response headers part, I'll see something known as content security policy. Let me just enlarge this a bit so you can see clearly. So content security policy is a response header, and in this case it says script source, script src. So script src defines all the different sources which the web page can use to load scripts from, different domains basically which it can use. So the first mentioned here is self. Self means it can load scripts from its own domain. Okay, self is usually configured for every time you mention a script source, because you have to allow a web page to load scripts from its own domain. That is something that you need to do, because it will always have some scripts to load from its own domain. So this is a no-brainer basically. If you're using a script source, you need to specify self. And the next we'll see are other sources from which you could load scripts onto the page. So pastebin.com is another domain from where this page can load scripts. Example.com is another one. Code.jquery.com is another. And https ssl.google analytics. So there are 5 sources actually, including self, pastebin, example, jquery, and Google Analytics. So these are all the different sources from where scripts can be loaded onto this website. If we were talking about images, we would see the value known as image src. So that means that this page is allowed to load scripts from these different sources. Now, one of the sources that was mentioned is pastebin.com. Pastebin.com is a website where you can simply, create any text. It's called creating a paste. It's known as on that website, and you can simply share the link, create a link for that, share it with anyone you want. Now, of course, that text that you create, that you enter there could be anything, and in our case, we'll be seeing that this text could be a script as well. So they have actually included as you know code for a script, URL for a script that's they have made. Actually, this person Digi Ninja is responsible for creating this module. If I go to this URL, so it's a simple just alert paste bin, and if you paste this here, okay, it does not seem to be working. How this usually works is when you paste the URL here, it loads the script and runs it. For some reason, it's not really working in this case. See, even in the help section, it says that scripts can be included from Pastebin. Store some JavaScript there and then try loading it in. So the intended functionality is to simply get this. So what if I try HTTP? I don't think that will make a difference. If you paste a script, it should run, but I don't know why it's not working here. Try it on your system once. Try this thing on your system whenever you get the time, or if you have your system running right now, you can try and tell me what you get. Are you able to make it work on your end? Can either one of you try this?
अभी सिस्टम स्टार्ट किया है।
अच्छा, एक बार देखो, चेक करो, अगर काम कर रहा है तो बताओ मेरे को।
हेलो।
यस आदेश।
सर मैंने ट्राई किया अभी,
हम्म।
पेस्ट बिन की पॉलिसी ऐड की। वो मतलब वहाँ पे नहीं दिखाई दी, लेकिन नेटवर्क में मैंने जब रिफ्रेश करके चेक किया तो पॉलिसी ऐड हो गई थी।
पॉलिसी नहीं चेक करनी है हमें। हमें देखो, इन्होंने यहाँ पे एक लिंक दिया हुआ है व्यू सोर्स में।
हाँ।
ये सिंपली कॉपी करो और यहाँ जब पेस्ट करोगे तो इसमें इंटेंडेड फंक्शनैलिटी ये है कि जैसे जावास्क्रिप्ट क्रॉस साइट स्क्रिप्टिंग हमने की थी ना, वो हो रही है यहाँ पे, कि यहाँ पे
एक
अलर्ट आएगा।
चेक करता हूँ।
एक बार चेक करके देख लो। कंटेंट सिक्योरिटी पॉलिसी जो हेडर है वो तो सर्वर ऐड करेगा, वो हम नहीं ऐड कर सकते। वो अपना वो जो भी डेवलपर है साइट का, उसका काम होता है वो इंश्योर करना। कर रहा है काम या नहीं कर रहा?
व्यू सोर्स पे ही क्लिक नहीं हो रहा।
हम्म।
व्यू सोर्स ही नहीं हो रहा मेरे सिस्टम में।
व्यू सोर्स क्या दिक्कत आ रही है?
क्लिक ही नहीं हो रहा उस पे।
क्लिक नहीं हो रहा?
नहीं।
बर्प वगैरह कुछ ऑन तो नहीं है अभी?
नहीं है।
क्लिक तो होना चाहिए यार। मतलब ग्रेड आउट आ रहा है क्या? मतलब क्या तरह से, किस तरह से? लॉग आउट करके लॉग इन करके देखो एक बार।
नहीं हो रहा सर।
नहीं हो रहा?
नहीं, सोर्स ही नहीं दिखता।
व्यू सोर्स नहीं दिख रहा? अच्छा, सिंपली एक काम करता हूँ मैं।
यूआरएल पेस्ट कर दीजिए।
हाँ, मैं वही कर रहा हूँ। हाँ, मैं
I had the
चैट में।
same issue. View source is not coming.
व्यू सोर्स इज नॉट coming. Like, is it just happening today, or are you not able to access it at all?
नॉट एबल टू एक्सेस एट ऑल।
Like earlier as well?
या
I have to look into it.
No, earlier it was.
पेस्ट किया सर, लेकिन नहीं हो रहा, आपके जैसा ही एरर आ रहा है।
सेम चीज़ आ रही, कुछ मतलब हो नहीं रहा ना उसमें?
नहीं,
ओके, तो इसका मतलब ये वल्नरेबिलिटी फिर अभी शो करना पॉसिबल नहीं होगा। प्रोबेबली पेस्ट बिन से जो रिस्पॉन्स आ रहा है उसमें कुछ चेंज हुआ है, और जो एक्चुअल CSP है उसको तो चेंज नहीं कर सकते। चलो देखते हैं इसका क्या करना है। नॉर्मली क्या है मतलब इसका बाईपास ये कैसे काम करता है? द वे इट वर्क्स इज व्हेन यू पेस्ट द स्क्रिप्ट, when you paste this URL, it's going to load that from going to load the content from this URL. So in this case, alert pastebin, and it's going to run that. So you will see a alert here, just like in the cross-site scripting modules. But currently, what we see is there's probably some issue, or they've probably made some change to the way pastebin is giving us the response. So this is not working currently the way it should. And since we cannot really change the CSP itself, and there's no way to load such kind of a script from either of these websites like example or jQuery or SSL Google, so we'll have to look into something else. But this DVWA, I'll see if I can change this code for it itself. Let's see what happens then. Instead, what we could look at is this JavaScript thing. But okay, I'll continue this in the next session. If there's any questions, you can ask. We're out of time for now.
Sure, can you share the video of the last class?
Last session? Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, please.
Anything else?
no sir.
No? Okay.